What's going on, folks? Larry with Packmaster Dog Training. Okay, so I put out a video this morning of that 6-month-old Doberman. You know, and the funny thing is, whenever I put out a video like that where I think people are going to say, you know, please stop posting crap like this, sometimes it seems to generate the most interest and the most questions. And I guess because it's so realistic that so many of us go through stuff like that, okay? But a bunch of you asked me, can I explain exactly what I did to get the dog to start walking that nicely, that fast, okay? Yeah, it's real simple, okay? In a nutshell, it's touch and the right leg swing, all right? Let me explain. So I had different plans, okay? My first plan was the dog gets here, I watch the dog get out of the car with the owners, I film that, I see what the dog can do or can't do, you know, and I say, okay, let's get started. I spend the hour with the owners. By the time they leave, the dog's rocking and rolling with them. That's what normally happens, not today, all right? So what I experienced, like I said earlier, this dog had no interest in nobody and nothing and would do not a damn thing, you know. She didn't eat this morning, still had no interest in food. I mean, nothing. So my first goal was just to teach the dog a marker word, but I couldn't do that because the dog had no interest in food or me and would continue to pull away or put her nose to the ground. So it was very, very frustrating, you know. It was very frustrating. And for you folks that think I put my hat to the side, I don't. I'm pretty sure my head is lopsided because my hat always goes to the right like that on its own. Okay, forget about my lopsided head. So I couldn't do nothing. And I literally almost sent them home. I was that frustrated. But I said, okay, let's get back to beyond basics here, okay? Literally beyond basics. How simple can I make this? Just like teaching a trick, let's break it down in the smallest parts possible. So I had to pull her away from the owners a little bit. So while they were in my driveway, I went towards the end of my driveway. First, I took the dog off the harness. I took the leash off the harness, and I just put a leather slip collar on that I have laying around. I just wanted something the dog couldn't escape from. She had a flat buckle collar, but it was too loose. She would have pulled right out of it. So I went to head towards the end of my driveway with the dog, and she fought it. She put on the brakes and fought it real hard, but I didn't allow that. I just went, and I kind of dragged her up there, you know. She came eventually, but still fought me. But I just needed to pull her away from the owners a little bit, just to get a little bit more compliance, which they normally will do if you get them away from their owners. And so I did that. When I got to the end of my driveway, the first thing I did was I dropped the leash parallel to the ground, still holding it, and just applied very gentle, steady, straight line pressure. And she fought it. I mean, she put on the brakes, and I just kept increasing slowly, and she refused to move. But the second her one front paw moved about an inch, I relieved all pressure. I mean, that little, that basic. Okay, I gave her a second, I did it again. Same thing. It moved maybe 2 inches, one paw. I relieved the pressure, okay? Then what I did was I just got down with her and I took the base of both ears and I rubbed and I massaged very gently. You know, I took my hands, I rubbed her down her spine, I massaged her. I used a lot of touch. I just touched her and rubbed her very, very gently, very calmly, which allowed her to put her head down and push it into me, which is what I wanted. I use a lot of touch. I do. Touch is extremely important, guys, and I'm blown away that in 2018, I still think it's probably the most overlooked tool in dog training that we have. You know, people just don't use enough touch. It's extremely effective. You know, you got to understand something. The leash tells the dog what we want, but the touch tells the dog who we are. It's very, very important, okay? So once I rubbed on her and touched her for a while, oh my gosh, please don't let anyone get turned on by this. I'm talking about the dog, okay? Once I did that, then it was time to move away down the driveway and attempt to go for a walk. Now she came with me. At least she came with me now. Except now she took off way ahead of me, and as she got to the end of the line, I just turned and went the other way. So she self-corrected. She corrected herself, all right, with the slip collar on. She came running back and again went ahead of me. I turned the other way. She self-corrected again. And now she was at least kind of at my side. And while she was close to my side, I turned and went the other way. She followed away from her, doing the 180s, right? Again, she was close to my side. I turned and went the other way. She followed. Then I brought her right next to me into a nice heel position and continued the walk. And the second the head went a little too far, I swung that right leg. And she jumped away from it and kind of did like a nice little heel flip. And I did that one more time. The right leg swing, guys, is so unbelievably effective. So this all took less than 5 minutes, and then she was walking beautifully with me down the street, where I wasn't even really holding the leash. It was just laying in my hand, and then I showed the owners. And I walked way down the street with her, and she did fantastic. That was it. She was done. That's how long it takes a dog to walk nicely on a leash. Normally, I don't even have to teach it, but with her, I did. Okay? So it was a combination of the touch and that right leg swing. But touch, guys, it's so important. So then once I came back with her, you know, I gave her to the man of the house and said, let's go. And that's what you saw. And he was just really tickled. He's never been able to walk with her like that. You know, so we just did a lot of walking. And then once the wife wanted to take over, because she spends most of the time with the dog and she can't walk her, I said, yeah. She asked, can I do it? I said, let's go. So the three of us just walked. But what's nice about that is we start having discussions. We talk. And not really about dog training or the dog. I like to get the owners talking about something they're into or just getting to know each other, but we have a conversation. Because what happens is when you get the owners having a conversation, they forget about the dog. And when you're going for a nice structured walk, okay, it shouldn't feel like there's a dog with you. So it allows the owners to forget that there's a dog there. So while we were talking about one thing, I don't remember what we were discussing, I kind of interrupted him and I said, you see what I mean here, guys? See why I'm doing this? Look at your dog. And she was just perfectly relaxed and walking nice with us. The four of us were just moving beautifully together. It's that simple. It's that basic, but it's that simple. I wish I could tell you guys there was more to it, but it's not. It was a combination of touch, putting my frustration aside, and that right leg swing does wonders, you know? So after the dog correcting herself, trying to run ahead a few times, you got to implement it. But again, I don't understand. You know, we are so quick to hit a dog, shock a dog, or yank a dog long before we ever use any touch. And I just don't understand that. It's so unbelievably powerful in the dog world, and we're not using it enough. And so I use it with all dogs, but especially the really fearful dogs I get. And you guys have seen it. You know, you guys have seen it. What do they all do? They tuck their head and they push into me. That's it. Once they're there, I got them. Now we're a team. And like I said earlier, the leash tells the dog what you want. The touch tells the dog who you are. Very, very powerful, guys. Start using it. Start using it, you know? It's very beneficial. So I wish there was something more exciting I could tell you, but that's it. I don't plan that. I just do what the dog gives me, and I go with it. And so a extremely terrible lesson turned into a very good lesson. And listen, the last 2 times I got my ass kicked by a dog real bad and was made to look foolish, they were both Dobermans. Great dogs, unbelievably intelligent, but not easily impressed. They were both Dobermans that really made me look silly, you know, but they both turned out really, really fantastic. So learn how to touch, start implementing it, and you're going to see a big difference. If you're not using that right leg swing on the walks right now and you're struggling, you're really missing out, because it takes minutes to fix any dog to walk nicely. And listen, I know a lot of people would have just put the e-collar on the dog and forced her into a walk, and, you know, put the prong collar on the dog and forced her into a walk. I get it. If that's your thing, that's fine. You know, I don't have a problem with it, but I've talked about it before, guys. The problem with doing that, eventually, when those tools aren't there or on, the dog goes right back to where it was. You're not teaching the dog anything. The dog doesn't want to be with you. It has to be with you. I want the dog to want to be with me. This way, when we accomplish that like we did today, Then, when we add the tools, whether it's a prong collar, an e-collar, a slip lead, it doesn't matter. Then the tool can be utilized the way it's meant to be utilized, at its full potential. Too many are doing it the opposite way. You understand what I'm saying? Do some touch. Peace.